Greetings, Ranger fans, and welcome to another edition of Database Rangers Power Reviews, where I take a look back on all of our classic episodes of Database Rangers Power Reviews as we count down the 100 weeks to the 100th and final episode of the series coming next October. So, welcome to those already in the chat. Good evening, Jenny. Good to see you. So, today was a very busy morning of filming, especially with RJ in tow for a good chunk of it. But it was good. We got a number of shots done today that we have been trying to schedule for, I want to say, the last 2 years. Just people's schedules just not lining up until now at the as we're getting things down to the wire. And across the course of this upcoming week, really by this time next week, I expect to have a major character fully wrapped for the series. So we are continuing to make progress as we move through. Yes, Scott, I do remember way back when I made all these classic episodes. It's been a very long road. Also, my birthday was this past week. Last week we covered the 35th episode of Power Reviews, and it was the last episode that we did commentary on as I was still 35. This week we're doing the 36th episode, and I'm now 36. I had my birthday earlier this week. We took RJ down to visit my family for a couple days. So it's as you may imagine, it's been a pretty busy week. RJ has done quite a bit of traveling back and forth. So hopefully this weekend we can kind of chill out a little bit before the next round of filming kicks off next week. Welcome, Josh. Thank you, Tino, for the happy late birthday. I feel like I'm now finally starting to feel at least a little bit old because really after 35, when you finally become old enough to run for president, everything after that, like the next milestone age where like I start to qualify for other things are like 20 years down the line when I start to like qualify for retirement and Medicare. So I feel like I'm starting that stretch towards old town. Also although 36 does mark the exact point where your childhood is literally half a lifetime ago. Welcome, Chris. Good evening. So yeah, busy times, but continuing to make progress. I got a little bit of writing done this week. I did while I was visiting my parents, I did a lot of catch up on the Power Rangers comics. I'm finally caught up on Go-Go Power Rangers and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and I finally started the new Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers separate lines. You know, after they've been out for almost a year. So I'm at least, caught up to almost this year. It's been a process. I still have like a few other like graphic novels and limited series to read through. So I'm trying to get as caught up as I can, so that I can have a good handle on where the continuity is at this stage. I think that I may have figured out how I can still have Edge of Darkness match up with my thoughts for the Phantom's origins. I'm just going to have to tweak my continuity a little bit, but I think I can still keep everything in line, which has always been a big priority for me with this series, to try and have it mesh as well as possible with the continuity of the existing Power Rangers franchise. Obviously, the comics are definitely an alternate continuity because everything is shifted forward about 25 years. But the events of the comics, I do still want to try and see if I can maintain continuity with as best as I can, especially with regards to origins of characters. What's my favorite type of cake? It varies, but I would love... I was hoping for it, and then we weren't able to find it. I do like a banana cake with like a good like sweet frosting. Welcome, Dan. Congratulations on making it. And yes, I was able. Actually, ironically, I didn't have birthday cake. We had banana cream pie instead of cake. I know it's so sacrilegious, but but it was still good. We had banana cream pie and strawberry ice cream, and it was a good match. So now we're all caught up on the week. Let's not forget our three equally non-controversial phrases. Three phrases that we should all be able to agree are like a starting baseline that we can all agree on. Number one, say it with me, chat. Black lives matter. Number two, say it with me, chat. Fascism is bad. And number three, say it with me, chat. Superheroes are fun. So let's check out, these superheroes. Okay. Some are more fun than others. So let's take a look at Database Rangers Power Reviews, episode 36. Our review of the 29th episode of Power Rangers Operation Overdrive, way back when.
Previously on our review.
Can you remember anything from before we met? Maybe you should worry a little bit less about whether or not
I do enjoy poking fun at Operation Overdrive. Although in retrospect, we have had rougher seasons of Power Rangers since then. It's a season that doesn't jive well for me. I know that it's one that people have enjoyed since then. But man, that classic like little slide phone I still had back then. And then obviously the big fight from last week that I went into in depth with last time. Yeah, I posted. I was like a minute or two late on my posting.
You know, guys, I consider the back seat to be more comfortable. We're fine. Okay.
And there is the beginning of the eyes on the road bit.
For the ride.
You're welcome.
Eyes on the road.
Okay. It's the least we can do.
After you made us that.
Lovely comeback CD this.
Actually, it's just called a CD, and I'm glad you guys liked it. Let's listen to it. Eyes on the road. Okay.
This was originally just going to be like a simple a simple bit for this one scene. And then I later developed the actual backstory for the Merpotsners in detail. I had, at this point, known that they were going to eventually be villains in the series, but I forgot that I did that little detail there. Dr. K is noticing some strange things with what's been going on with the squee.
Yeah, I know, but right now, all I want is to just sit down, relax, watch some PR, do a good old-fashioned power review.
A review of what? According to my records, Power Rangers Metaphors doesn't resume for another month.
Thought they weren't coming back until September.
Next month is September.
And there's our first acknowledgement of
It's August now?
That is how calendar cycles usually work.
the time frames of the temporal distortions. I swear it was June yesterday.
In honor of the 20th anniversary.
And again, it's a meta joke because the the spring finale was released in June.
Oh, I know exactly which one you're talking about. It's perfect. Cue it up.
Are you sure?
And
Absolutely.
obviously we know that they are not thinking of the same episode.
Greetings, Ranger fans.
And now we just are getting right back into that classic feel that we haven't seen in a while. This was pitched as the
With episode 34. Really?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
and I'm thinking it's episode 34 of And it's the wrong episode. Oh, what? An ad? Come on. YouTube. Why are you... Wow, they managed to time that right to... Okay, we don't need this. There we go. Back to the actual thing. Although that was an interesting timing for the ad to go in, just as we were segueing into the actual review. I will say one thing that I do actually I will give credit to Operation Overdrive for is that this was when I started watching and making fun of Power Rangers for the first time with MJ. Wait, what's it doing now? Buffering. What is going on? But yeah, this episode, this season, when MJ and I watched it, we did start making fun of it, and we joked how it would be funny to do like an actual like riff tracks of Power Rangers, which, you know, ultimately that's sort of what live reviews what live reactions kind of was, as we were relating to it in real time, but really it came down to Operation Overdrive kind of inspired Power Reviews to an extent. Just the basic idea of doing some sort of like online reviews / jokes surrounding Power Rangers episodes. And this is one of the only episodes where I just sort of unleash on my frustrations with a Power Rangers episode, which I really don't do that often. Operation Overdrive just deeply frustrated me when it was on. And I will acknowledge that a lot of its flaws are flaws that exist in other seasons, like Power Rangers Ninja Steel, for instance, has a lot of similar flaws to Operation Overdrive. And it's strange because, like, you know, it was sandwiched between other seasons that were perfectly fine, and by writers that I respect and appreciate. It's just something about the way that Operation Overdrive came together that just, from like an ethos standpoint, just didn't work for me. And then the little squee joke right here. The squee is just such a great plot device for this show, and I have so much fun using it so often. And this episode was a good pick, actually, for reviewing Operation Overdrive, because it allows me to pretty much address the whole series, and then allow me to focus otherwise on episodes from seasons that I do enjoy more. And yes, I have heard that Bokanger was a good season. I still haven't seen Bokanger. There's a lot of Sentai I really need to get through.
Which then points them to the Caribbean island of St. Lucia, where they retrieve the first jewel from pirate ghost Brownbeard in return for saving him.
What?
No, physical harm, believing that they may be onto something with the location of the jewels.
I love how Dr. K has no idea what's going on, and has having all these questions, and Database's answers are just so exhausted. Like, I've heard writers discuss a little bit of Operation Overdrive and the challenges that they faced with it, and the challenges that they usually describe are actually more along the lines of they wanted to do, you know, a country hopping a world hopping series where they got to do all these adventures around the world, and they just didn't really have the locations or the budget. That's how you get like the mountains of the Florida Everglades, for instance. Um, uh, and yes, I have issues with Mac, which I know a lot of others don't. A lot of people actually generally like Mac. Mac is probably one of my least favorite Red Rangers. Primarily because I didn't like how he became the Red Ranger. I didn't like his attitude during his focus episodes. The actor did a fine job. He was the personality was fairly likable when he wasn't the focus, but I always got frustrated at him when he was because he had a very negative attitude with regards to a lot of things. And I do appreciate that they did attempt this very serialized story. It's just one that was so linear and simplistic that it became very frustrating. I know I'm basically this is sort of I'm doing more of an analysis of Operation Overdrive right now than this actual episode. I get so many good jabs in this one. But I really wanted this to be sort of Database Rangers, no good, very bad day, where he cannot catch a break. He manages to get picked up by the more Potsners, but then the drive home is just exhausting. You know, he went through all the stuff with Alphabet Soup. He's just having a really, really bad day. And then when he tries to relax, it's Operation Overdrive. Which, you know, back then was really the butt of all the jokes when it came to Power Ranger seasons. Although nowadays that's a role that's usually fulfilled by Megaforce. Sometimes Ninja Steel, depending upon personal tastes. Because Ninja Steel was more recent. Also, the map and the way that there's so many issues with this. And now yeah, that's the last. And there we go. Punch to the face.
That's for standing up.
What? No. I didn't. I mean...
I tried to call you and it went straight to voicemail. And when I finally do get through, you didn't even bother to pick up.
I think I was busy running at the time.
Oh, joking. You think that's a good excuse?
No, I was running away. Not from you. There were men in suits with sunglasses and these gun things.
And what's that?
That would be the end credits to Power Rangers Operation Overdrive.
So now you want to tell me why your phone was off?
I don't think I was getting any self-service inside the air vents. No, I was at a publishing house and they wanted to publish my book.
Oh, my excuses are so bad and it's amazing. I love it.
I don't know why the punch to the face because they had the guns and you're not believing anything I'm saying right now. Nope. You want nothing to do with me right now.
Yep.
I have no shot at another date, do I?
That?
Really?
I'm sure that you and Power Rangers Operation Overdrive will be very happy together.
Oh, that hurts so much.
Yeah, I'm just going to give her a little bit of time to cool down. Give me a little time to somehow explain the last 24 hours. Oh, really? Yeah, let's do that.
And that's just, again, as I said, Database Rangers, no good, very bad day. I hope that you and Operation Overdrive will be very happy together. He's just so broken.
Yeah, major problem with this one.
How does that even happen?
No idea.
Is there some sort of mass amnesia event?
Not that I can remember. Although I realize Besides, that's not saying much.
I place more focus on action sequences than character development, which, considering their substandard insights, is not necessarily a bad thing. Forgotten plots at least precisely.
I had so much fun filming this one because there's something very enjoyable about playing somebody who's just having an unrelenting bad luck. You get to have this just exhausted, self-deprecating attitude. You get to experience the physical comedy of it. The punch with Mayo was one that we really worked to try and make sure that we just kind of nailed it. Especially me with the facial expression, which is why I chose that shot for the thumbnail. Yeah. There's like problems with this episode I found while I was reviewing it that I didn't even remember. Like, yeah, the blinking lights on the map don't all line up to Greece. They were on opposite sides of where Pangea was going to be matching up, so they just popped the lights over there and pretended that was where those places were 150 million years ago. It's amazing. But also, Mayo ringing the doorbell is the first time that Kay has heard the doorbell since she had previously said, "I hear that doorbell ring one more time, and I'm installing it with a taser." That is the one more time. So we had the setup of that joke way back in episode 25. This is the continuation in episode 36, and we get the payoff in episode 45.
Their victories have been. So, I think I'm about done. I have a very long story to try to carry.
Thinking about how the footage makes sense, I have work to do.
And Kay has been studying the spontaneously generated reviews that have been occurring in the meantime. And there's Zagger. And yes, Tialva is having fun with Angry Birds. Possibly T-Beta. And nope, not stopping. I keep slamming into doors. And I did speed up that footage a little bit for him to walk a little bit faster. And we did borrow Dave's car for this day. Fortunately, he did not live that far away at the time. And if you look closely enough, because I was not going to try and composite that, Dave is the one driving the car right there. And there's our what of the episode. And there we go, episode 36. Definitely a bit of a fun breather, for the most part, after the wham of the big fight at the end of 35. But obviously, it also is the turning point of the summer season, where we get the Mayo kidnapping, forcing Database to finally actually take action in the plot. It's taken, 36 episodes, but now he's forced to actually take part in the plot. Like the end of episode 35, physically he got backed into a corner, and then instinct took over. But here, he's being placed in a situation where he's going to have to make the choice to seek out the plot. And this is the first time that he actually makes that choice in the series, and it completely changes the direction of the series moving forward. And that does happen several times throughout the series, where we have events that change the direction of the series moving forward. But this is very much a change of attitude for Database after this. And I did want to really play with that, because I wanted to have, that first run of episodes lull people into that false sense of security in terms of the type of show, take all that time to really lay down the groundwork for the backstories, the foreshadowing, etc., setting up things that'll get paid off later. And I wanted to have all that time to do that, and one of the best ways to do that was to have a protagonist who's not interested in being a protagonist. He doesn't want to engage with the plot. He doesn't want to dig into his past or dig into whether Dr. K is real, or deal with these, shadowy, with the shadowy, mysterious secret agent who lives next door, or any of that. He doesn't want that. But he's increasingly placed into situations where he has no choice but to take action. And then once he starts to make that choice, the world just opens up, and he becomes a much more proactive person, to the point where now we're in year 3, and he makes the decision to take the fight to the landlord, which is such a completely different state of mind from where he is at the beginning of the series. And that was always supposed to sort of be a major part of his character arc. Learning to engage with the world, learning to take action, learning to be involved, and to not run away from things anymore, to not hide away. He's the Phantom Ranger. He's always hid his face as the Phantom Ranger. So I wanted his alternate identity to be somebody who hides from himself to a certain extent. And this was sort of that turning point where he just couldn't stand by the sidelines anymore. And I think we all have sort of those kind of moments in our lives, to an extent. Not everyone does. But where you realize that something, where you might let certain things slide up to a point, but you hit a line. And when that line is crossed, you need to take action. And it only really worked because we'd gotten him to the point where he had developed this, burgeoning relationship with Mayo. We had gotten to know her. We had gotten to see their interaction. We had gotten to root for them to an extent. And then Alphabet Soup swoops in. So that was sort of that final straw that breaks the camel's back on Database Ranger's No Good, Very Bad Day. So yeah, like I said, fun episode. Gave me a chance to air a lot of my grievances with regards to Operation Overdrive. And find some that were rooted just within the episode that I wasn't even expecting to find. Like details like where the lights are moving, etc. Operation Overdrive, among the many issues with it, it was weirdly linear for something that was about finding 5 different objects that had been randomly scattered, but for some reason everyone was looking for in the exact same order. Without one stone actually leading to the next. It was just, they found one stone, and then there would just be a random clue that they would reveal at the end of the episode that had nothing to do with the stone they just found, and things like that. But yeah, their primary, the writer's primary frustration with it was that they couldn't really do globetrotting on the budget, to the extent that they wanted on the budget that they had, and so they had to rely on Sentai footage, etc., which was never an issue for me. It was never an issue for me that they had to rely on Sentai footage. I thought that Operation Overdrive had plenty of original footage and a lot of good original designs. Action that was original, although they were very much heavily in the Kalish Explosion era at that point, or Koichi Explosion, whichever you prefer. My issue was really with the characters and the storytelling. That was what frustrated me about Operation Overdrive. Just the basics of the production, I thought were great. I thought that show had quite good production values. I just got so frustrated with the characters because every focus episode on a character made me like that particular character a little bit less. And I don't feel like a show should function that way. I always liked the Operation Overdrive cast more when the focus wasn't on a given character. Like, Mac was always more likable when he wasn't the focus of attention. Rose was more likable when she wasn't the focus of attention. Ron, everybody was more likable when they weren't the focus of attention. But then we get Ronnie's weirdly childlike competitiveness. Dax, like, making the choice to be a ranger versus an actor after he'd already shot the scene, which meant that the choice amounted to nothing apart from ruining a movie for people that they'd already basically shot. Will being an undercover spy, but then actually helping the bad guys get what they want without the good guys gaining anything from that. Just so much in there where the Rangers made bad choices that were treated like good choices, and it frustrated me so much. That's really the big thing for me when it came to Operation Overdrive, that there were so many cases of the Rangers making bad choices that were framed as good choices, and it felt like they were not setting good examples for children. And that's really one of the things that can really hurt a Power Rangers series for me, when I feel like they're not being, like they are not serving their target audience. Because I recognize that it's a kid's show, and I always want them to be giving kids good stories and good characters and good adventures, but also good lessons when they're when they're teaching lessons. And when I feel like those lessons are negative or handled in such a way that undermines those lessons, I get frustrated. So I'm just taking a quick look at some of the chat right here. Yeah, if they had written around the locations they had available, that could have worked. And yeah, connecting the gems to the Rangers, that could have worked thematically. I agree on that. There were definitely missed opportunities with Operation Overdrive, and the reason that I get so frustrated with the Max Robot reveal really came down to, again, the way it was handled. Because I had been getting so frustrated with the series up until that point, but I knew that they were foreshadowing something with Mac, and I was investing in, okay, I want this to be a good payoff, something that connects to the story and makes the story come together in some way, because I felt as though there were no other character arcs that were really engaging me. There were no real story arcs that were engaging me. The hunt for the gems was becoming very samey, because every episode it was just, okay, you find an artifact, it leads to the next one. You find an artifact, it leads to the next. So I wasn't really getting that much variety from that overarching element, and I wanted something more from the character elements. So I had pinned all my hopes on the payoff of that story arc being a good payoff. And not only did I feel as though the reveal that Mac was a robot was very cliche, like, twist, he was a robot the whole time, felt like a very cliche reveal to me. It was also one that didn't connect in any way at the time to anything else relating to the story. I was expecting him to some way connect to the artifacts. Now, they did bring things together at the very end with the Chrono Aurora turning him into a real boy, and that was great, but at that point, the show had already lost me. But the fact that it was something that was completely out of left field very cliche. There was nothing with regards to androids or robots or artificial intelligences up until that point. So it felt thematically like incongruous with the rest of the series. And the actual reveal was completely spoiled by the episode immediately preceding it through a costume party, which, like, the writers actually apparently were proud of, because they're like, oh, we snuck in that clue, but it didn't feel like a clue. It felt like you just revealed the answer to the biggest question of the series in such a little casual way, where you gave it away to the audience as like a joke, while the character without actually having it be a reveal to the characters. So that's where I was. That's where I've always been coming from with my issues with the Max a Robot reveal. Now, as far as in-universe with Database Ranger, as for any of you who've watched AskDB, you know that he had the whole Max a Robot freak out for AskDB. I just thought it would be really funny to ramp up my frustration with that for somebody who is actually secretly a robot, and I just thought that would be a really funny point of irony for that character. So that's sort of my Operation Overdrive rundown. I felt like I needed to get some of those thoughts out, so you had a better idea of where I was coming from with regards to why this season is treated this way within the show. I do feel like I probably could have been a little nicer to Operation Overdrive. Just because it's the only show it's the only season that I've really been about this way about. Although I did get into that mode with Megaforce as it went along. But yeah, Operation Overdrive's just a tough one for me. I know that it's no longer treated as the worst season ever, and it's really not in many regards, especially from a production standpoint. And I felt like there was definitely a lot more effort put into it than other seasons that were very much just sort of copy and paste seasons from the Sentai material. So I don't want to make anyone feel bad for liking Operation Overdrive. It has its merits. It's just a season that thematically really rubs me the wrong way. So I will also say that it is the only season that I knew I didn't want to revisit in other episodes. I knew I wanted to cover it. I wanted to cover it efficiently, which is why I did the clip show episode. But it is one of only 2 seasons that doesn't get revisited in year 3. So I will tell you that right now. There is no Operation Overdrive episode in year 3. I may have mentioned that before. There is another season that I wanted to cover, but I just couldn't find a good place for it. Largely because the final episodes are really focused on specific franchise milestones that I felt were important to talk about. And there are several of those that take place within certain seasons. Like, there are 2 seasons that are definitely disproportionately represented in year 3, and you will be seeing a fair bit in these final 7 episodes. Just because both those seasons had so much... had so many episodes that I felt were important to talk about, or were just episodes that I really, really liked. So, I know I've probably yammered on long enough. This has been a little bit of a longer stream. You get me talking about my issues with the season, and I will go on for a while. So just double checking to make sure that I didn't miss any questions. Are Mac and J-Borg related now? Arguably, sure. Why not? J-Borg's another character I'm just not. The performance is fine. Just it's another case of just a Hartford robot just not feeling like it fits within the season. And I keep rooting for J-Borg to actually have some level of payoff, and I'm trusting that she will, because it does feel like there is a lot more layered storytelling going on in Dino Fury. Tyzon eventually gets into SPD. I know this is we just covered Dwayne Cameron appearance in SPD as our first classic review. And yeah, we're still at the point where Megaforce had some promise, and then it became the Robo Knight and Friends show, and the story just fell apart, and it was rough. And I mean, we have already, and Scott, I know you're mentioning Space and RPM. Yeah, I forgot. We've already covered 2 episodes of RPM in year 3. So there are actually 2 other seasons that also get. I'd forgotten about that we'd already covered the 2 episodes of RPM. There are 2 other seasons that do get multiple points of representation in year 3. But I felt like they either fit really, really well, or I felt covered something that no other episodes really covered and deserve to be addressed in that regard. All right, so I think that that should wrap things up for tonight. So let's close things out with our remaining 3 equally non-controversial phrases that we should all be able to agree are starting points that we can all agree upon. So number 1, say it with me, chat. Love is love. Number 2, say it with me, chat. Trans rights are human rights. And number 3, say it with me, chat. Robots are cool. We could get into. We could get into a lot. Even though I just spent a significant portion of this commentary getting into my issues with the sudden reveal of a character being a robot. Robots in general are cool. That one has the most caveats out of all my phrases. Maybe I need to pick something new. We still like Megazords, so that works. Anyway. So, I look forward to seeing you all again next week, as we continue our journey through the year 1 summer season, and I look forward to having further updates on the progress of year 3. Things are coming together. Fingers crossed. I should have some good stuff to report next week. So, until then, farewell, Ranger fans, and let the power protect you.